started recording. Then I want to... Lerato, are you able to see? It's everything clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Once again, greetings, guys. Obviously, you know my name is Desmond, and I hope you will enjoy the lesson for today. So, guys, it's unfortunate. Earlier today, I wasn't able to complete this lesson. So what I'm going to do is to try and make sure that I answer all the questions. So obviously, Lerato, you've attended multiple lessons, even though you're still in grade 11. You seem to be understanding stuff for grade 12. So I assume even for this lesson, you'll still be able to understand everything that we'll be doing. So guys, remember, from time to time, I'm going to need your participation so that I'm aware that all is in order. Because sometimes you find that in case for some reason there's a disconnection, I keep on explaining, whereas there's no one who's able to hear or see what I'm talking about. Then after some time, that's when I realize that there's a disconnection. So from time to time, please do engage, especially when I ask a question, or just in case if I need someone to respond. It's for that purpose that I don't want to continue without everyone being in the lesson. So guys, let's have a look at exam paper of 2021, which is last year. This was a May-June exam paper where we've got question 1, which is solved for x. So normally in mathematics, especially for grade 10s, 11 and 12 learners, you're most likely to be given question 1 as solved for x. And these are the type of questions which examiner might want you to solve. So guys, I'm mostly interested in teaching you on how to approach exam type of questions. And again, most importantly, I'm more interested in teaching you on how to answer this type of questions. So guys, not only that, but you should also be able to interpret the given problems. So let's just start with our very first question. So remember, guys, you are welcome to ask some questions while I'm still busy answering the question. So obviously, question 1.1, it's solve for x. So now question 1.1.1, it's x squared minus x minus 20, and this is equated to 0. So guys, are we still together up to this far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So obviously, I won't be explaining the same thing over and over again. I notice most of you who have joined this lesson, you are aware of the information that I've previously explained in terms of the difference between a quadratic equation and again an expression. So guys, if you're given this type of a question, ask yourself this question: is this an expression or an equation? It is an equation because of that equal sign that we know. Guys, is this a quadratic or linear equation? Because of that power there, it makes it a quadratic equation. So guys, is it in the standard form? So let's see. We've got positive a, we know the a value, b value, and c value, and the whole of this is equated to 0. For the fact that it's equated to 0, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the standard form. So now, if it's in the standard form, the next step is to factorize. So obviously, you need to find the factors. So for an easy equation similar to this one, obviously, you don't need to use a quadratic formula in order to find the factors. You can just straight away find the factors. Which two numbers, when multiplied together, gives you 20? Obviously, it's 4 and 5. So ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the signs, between these two values, the bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've got 5 and 4. Obviously, 5 is the bigger number. It therefore takes the sign of the middle term. What is the sign of the middle term? It's a negative value. Okay, so because your C value is negative, then the other value has to be positive. If the C value was positive, then you are going to have negative on both of those factors. So that's a point that you need to note down. Remember, guys, this lesson is recorded. I'm going to post it on our website. As soon as it's posted, I'm going to share a link where you can replay this lesson over and over again until you're able to make some notes for yourself. Most importantly, guys, as soon as you've written this equation in the standard form, factorize. If this is too complicated to factorize, use a quadratic formula to find the factors. I've done a lesson previously where I show how that works. When you use the quadratic formula, it gives you the final answer. So you have to work it out in reverse in order to find those factors in brackets. Most importantly, if you've got those two values, the bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. The middle term that we're talking about is the middle term of that quadratic equation, which is in the standard form. Therefore, if you've got a C value which is negative, the other factor becomes positive. If you've got a positive C value, then both of your values will have to be negative. Obviously, x minus 5 can then be equated to 0, or x plus 4 can be equated to 0. Remember, guys, because of this equation, it's a quadratic equation. It means you're going to have two values of x. If it was a linear equation, which means you don't have a squared over there, it was going to be a different story. So obviously, x is equals to positive 5, or x is equals to negative 4. So ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to mathematics, especially question 1, you are able to prove if your final answer is wrong or correct. So for me, I never struggled in finding out if my final answers are wrong or correct. So it's more like I was fast enough to write the whole question paper and mark for myself. So in each and every paper, I was able to know the minimum marks that I must obtain for that particular paper. So guys, since we say the value of x is 5, that means if we substitute 5 there, punch the whole of this on a calculator, it has to give you 0. Guys, if we substitute negative 4, which is that other x value, it means when you punch the whole of this, it has to give you 0. If it doesn't give you 0, then it means somewhere, somehow, you made a mistake. Guys, the other important thing for you to note is that in maths, you're most likely to get mark for finding the factors and again for the x values. Okay, this is not given any marks, ladies and gentlemen. And again, if you were to use a formula in mathematics, they don't give you a mark for choosing the right formula, but instead they give you a mark for correct substitution. So guys, if you're still on the line, are we all on the same page for this question 1.1 before I remove all of that? Any questions?
We understand, sir. You can carry on.
Was I not breaking? Was everything 100% from the start until the end?
It is clear.
100%. So now let's move to the next question. So obviously I've sent this in our group. So question 1.1.2, the question says, remember, we are still dealing with solve for x. So we've got 1.1. Under 1.1, we've got 1.1.1, 1.1.2, 1.1.3, 1.1.4. So this is a new question. So that means for all of these questions, we'll be solving for x. What does it mean? It means in the end, we have to say x is equals to something. I hope you fully understand that part, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's move to the next question. So the next question, which is 1.1.2, we've got 3x squared minus 2x minus 6. All of this is equated to 0. Guys, with this type of questions, remember they say correct to 2 decimal places. Massively important, ladies and gentlemen. If you're given this statement, it simply serves as a guide to you that you need to apply a quadratic formula. Okay, so we won't waste our time trying to find the factors for that quadratic equation. So ladies and gentlemen, is this in the standard form? An answer to that question is yes. Why? Because we've got a positive a value, we know the a value, we know the b value, we know the c value, and the whole of this, ladies and gentlemen, is equated to 0, which gives me the confidence to say this is in the standard form. So guys, again, let me check what else have we got to confirm that this is in the standard form. I think all I've explained, it serves as a confirmation that this is this is in the standard form. So guys, you need to know this formula by heart. Lerato, make sure that you know this formula by heart, because even when you are at varsity, you'll still be using this formula. And at tertiary level, they don't give you formula sheet. So knowing this formula by heart, it will work for you 100%. Also, when we'll be doing the functions, you will fully understand and you'll spend less time on each and every question because you won't have to struggle in finding the factors. So ladies and gentlemen, do we know the A value? Obviously, we know the A value. Guys, do we know the B value? Obviously, we know the B value. Do we know the C value? Yes, we do know the C value. So remember, guys, ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. I want to tell you something of which some of you might not be aware of. This formula, it comes from this equation, ladies and gentlemen. So it's more like from this equation, they simplified this equation by trying to make x the subject of the formula. And when they worked it out, it ended up being this formula. That's why we use this formula to find the x value for a quadratic equation which is in the standard form. I hope you fully understand that part, ladies and gentlemen. In case if you don't understand, you can just ask a question. So guys, obviously the A value is 3. The B value is -2. The C value is -6. What matters the most is for you to know that you substitute in brackets. In this way, you will never go wrong, ladies and gentlemen. So now, let's substitute all of that into that formula. So you just say x is equals to negative, originally from the formula, into, what is our B value? It's -2 over there. And you say plus or minus square root of our B value is the same B value as that. So guys, most of you make a mistake of forgetting that squared over there. So please do make sure that you remember that squared over there. -4. What is our A value? Is +3, ladies and gentlemen. What is our C value? Is -3. So the whole of this is divided by 2 into our A value, which is 3. Okay, so guys, we are almost there. All that you need to do is to punch the whole of this using a positive sign and get whatever x value if it's in the fraction form. Then you will also need to find the x value using a negative sign, which is most likely to be in a fraction form. Okay, so as soon as you get that fraction form, convert it to decimal, and most importantly, round it off to the nearest or correct to 2 decimal places. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's punch the whole of this on a calculator. Whoever finds the first value when using a positive sign, please do comment to tell me what answer are you getting. So I'm also going to punch it. Is that a question or someone already got an answer to that calculation? -4 into 3, open, close, -6, close, divided by 2. Our A value is 3. Guys, I've got an answer, but I'm not sure if you're also getting the same answer. Can someone tell me what do you get when you punch the whole of that using a positive sign?
1,78.
In a form of fraction, what are you getting?
1 plus square root of 19 over 3.
Same time. So Lerato, don't cancel it. So you're saying it's 1 plus square root of 19 over 3. So same time, convert it to decimal and write it before you move to that other one. So what is that answer in a form of decimal? Correct to 2 decimal places.
1,89.
1,89.
89. Yes.
Guys, are you also getting the same answer?
No.
What are you getting?
1,78.
Correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, so Lerato, it's 1,78629 blah blah blah. Name. So now correct to 2 decimal places, it's 1,79. This is where it ends because that number it's more than 4. So if it's more than 4, you round this number to the nearest number. So you just add 1. So Lerato, from this 1 plus square root of 19 over 3, you just convert it to decimal. Can you see? I'm not sure which type of a calculator you're using, but let me just say it's 1 plus square root of 19 over 3. It's equals to. Above that delete button, there is this SD. So this is where you convert fraction to decimal. So you just punch or you just press on that number, then it gives you the decimal of this. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's punch that one over there. So obviously, you punch the whole of this, but now using a negative. So starting with the fraction button into -2 minus square root of into -2 squared minus 4 8 3c. It's minus 6 close over 2a, which is 3. Anyone who got an answer, guys? What
1
answer?
minus square root of 19 over 3.
9 minus that over 3. In decimal?
-1,12.
-1, comma. Let's just say 1.6 blah blah blah. Then you've already rounded it to the nearest, correct to 2 decimal places, then it becomes that. Nay. So guys, this is how you solve this question. It wasn't really that much complicated. You just need to be careful when you substitute there and again how to represent these two values, and most importantly, check if they said correct to 1 decimal places or if they said correct to 2 decimal places. So now that we are moving to the next question, is there someone who feels like they need to ask a question, or otherwise are we all on the same page? So ladies and gentlemen, let's move to question 1.1.3, where we are given that. I think I'm not really sure in terms of whether there's an x over there. Can someone try to check from the original equation from our WhatsApp group to tell me what is that equation? Because there must be a variable over there. I think I copied it incorrectly. Can someone quickly check that from our group? You remember I've sent that question, this question in a form of PDF in our WhatsApp group, isn't it? I think I've also sent it in this Telegram group, but the correct one, it should be in our group. Guys, is there someone who's checking?
Well, is your Lohan changing?
Ora, yes, this equation, it's into 3 minus 1 close squared greater than 9. There must be x somewhere. So, I think go WhatsApp group, send you screenshots the whole of this question. Check out from that one.
Okay, Rick, check.
Okay.
Indeed, one.
We check it.
Yeah, check it.
Equation ela.
Okay, error ko shebele no WhatsApp. So, 3 minus 1 all squared, then close bracket, greater than 9.
No. Let me check it. There's something. Let me quickly check it.
Checkile mo e leng 3 ke x.
O mo eleng 3 ke x ne. Yeah, no, it's x. Yeah, no, I agree. So let me correct that one over there. So that means it's into x minus 1 close squared greater than 9. Okay, thanks very much. So now let's continue with this question. So guys, I'm just going to rewrite it over there. So this is question 1.1.3, which is x minus 1 close squared. The whole of that is greater than 9. So guys, this is what we call a quadratic inequality. Why am I saying it's a quadratic inequality? Because of that power over there, it makes it a quadratic, not quadratic equation. Why? Because it doesn't have an equal sign. Remember, equation, you can just refer to it as something referring to that equal sign. So this is what we call a quadratic inequality. Why? Because it has an inequality sign. In some other cases, it may be greater than, it's equals to, it may be less than, or it's equals to, it may be greater than, just like in that case, it could be less than. So now, ladies and gentlemen, the same questions apply even for a quadratic inequality. The same question that you would ask yourself if you're dealing with a quadratic equation. Is this in the standard form? An answer to that question is no. If it's not in the standard form, then we need to work it out until it's in the standard form. So once it's in the standard form, then we can now apply all the characteristics or the methods applicable to quadratic inequalities. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's work it out as if it's just an equal sign over there. The main aim, or the first thing that you need to do, is to rewrite it in the standard form. So the tricky part about quadratic inequalities, because they don't give you in the standard form. They want you to work it out until it's in the standard form. Once that is done, then you need to apply all the information that I taught you in relation to a quadratic inequality. So, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, we've got a square over there, which is what we need to work out. So, it's two of these. Everything else remains the same. We're only interested in solving that part. So, we've got x minus 1, x minus 1. The whole of that, it remains the same. That times that, obviously, it's x squared. That times that, it's minus x. This times that, it's minus x. That times that, it's positive 1. The whole of that remains the same. So we just work out that part, which is x squared. This is minus 2x plus 1. This is where we can transpose or write that 9 on the other side of that inequality sign. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember, when you change a number to the other side, it doesn't affect that inequality sign. The inequality sign is only affected when you've got a negative a value. So, guys, let's work out the like terms, which is that. So, obviously, we know is negative 8 greater than 0. So can you see it's now in the standard form, because we've got a positive a value, we know the a, b, and c value, and the whole of this, it's they say it's greater than 0. So in short, on the other side of that inequality sign, it's 0, which means we can find the critical values, what we call the critical values. So the critical values, guys, you need to have the factors, otherwise it's more like you need to factorize. And obviously, when we work out that equation over there, we know 4 multiplied by 2, it gives us 8. So because of that is a negative sign, that's when we say the bigger number between these two takes the sign of the middle term, which means 4 it's a bigger number, then it's a negative. Then this has to be positive. Why? Because the C value is negative. If the C value was positive, we're just going to have negative values. So guys, the critical values, it's x, it's equals to negative 2, which is that, or x, it's equals to positive 4. So ladies and gentlemen, you need to present your critical values on a number line. Okay, so obviously we have positive 4 on the right side of the number line. We have negative 2. Yes.
So why are we putting equal sign?
A very good question. So in this case, the moment you start saying the critical values, that's when you are allowed to say x equals to negative 2, x is equals to 4. But when you do any other calculation, you don't have to, you don't use the equal sign. I'm not sure if that's it. So this is something that you can write down as a note to say, when you find the critical values, this is where you're allowed to say x is equals to. This is when you're allowed to equate. And also, this part is not allocated any marks.
Yes, sir.
Does it make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So far, was I not breaking? Was everything 100%? Is there someone who's able to confirm that?
Yes, everything is clear. Can hear you.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, because now we've got our critical values, we represented them on our number line. This is where we can make that circle there to say we've got circles there. Remember, if it's greater than or it's equals, it's less than, we just make a circle. If it's greater than or it's equals to, or it's less than or it's equals to, make a circle, then you shade that circle. So in this case, they just said greater than. So obviously, guys, we need to use any value on this side to test if we get a positive or a negative number. And we need to also use number in between to test if we get a positive or a negative number. We need to also test using a number on that other side of a positive 4 to test if we get a positive or a negative value. So we substitute those values on the equation or that quadratic inequality which is in the standard form. You don't substitute it there. So guys, let's maybe use any number on this side to test if we get a positive or a negative number. So I'm going to use, in my case, I'm just going to use a 5. So let's see. So that means you're going to say in brackets there, you substitute negative 5 squared minus 2 into negative 5 close, then it's minus 8 is equals to. So I get a positive number. Remember, we are not interested in knowing what number you get, but we are most interested in the sign. So on this side, we get a positive value. Then I'm just going to edit that negative 5 and make it a positive 5, make it a positive 5, and say it's equals to. Remember, a positive side is on this side. So I used a bigger number which is bigger than that as a negative to find out what happens on this side. Then I just edited it to check what is on this side. So also I get a positive number. Remember, guys, you can use negative 10, negative 100, negative 1,000, negative million, whatever number. On this side, you can use positive 5, positive 6, positive 10, positive 100, as long as it's a number greater than the critical value, as long as it's a number less than that critical value. So obviously, the numbers in between, you've got negative 1, you've got 0, you've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3. You can just choose any number and substitute it and check if you've got a positive or a negative number. So I'm just going to use 0. You can use negative 1, you can use 0, as long as you use the same value for the x value. It's equals to, I get a negative number. So that means there is a negative number. So ladies and gentlemen, according to this equation which is in the, that one which is in the standard form, we are saying for which values of x, when substituted there, we get a number which is positive or which is greater than 0. The tricky part here is for you to understand that a number which is greater than 0, it's a positive number. A number which is less than 0, it's a negative number. Okay, so I'm very close to making a conclusion that if we've got a greater than, on the quadratic inequality which is in the standard form, we are most likely to have positive values in that direction, which makes it that type of an inequality where we say x, you use that arrow in that direction, minus that inequality which is minus 2. Then you say, or x, you use that arrow, it's in that direction, you write that inequality. So this means they're asking you for which values of x, when substituted there on the quadratic inequality which is in the standard form, you get values which are greater than 0. So it's more like they're saying values which are positive. So that's why you say from this inequality going in that direction, that's where you have positive values, which are the values which are greater than 0. So from this inequality going in that direction, that's where you have positive values, which are the values which are greater than 0. So obviously in between, it means that's where you get values which are less than 0. So ladies and gentlemen, this is that inequality. This is the end of that problem of inequality. So ladies and gentlemen, anyone who has got a question so far? Any question, guys? Puti, auna putisho.
No, ke sharp.
O sharp ne? I see Lerato, ke Lebogang, ke bona Dimpho. Who else is on the line, guys? Let me just try to check. So, guys, we are on the same page so far, ne?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's move to the other question. So I think, guys, let me just make this comment to say, whoever who's watching this lesson, it could be on YouTube, on my website, on Facebook, or any other social media platform. The reason why you might find yourself not understanding, and these guys who attended this lesson understand, is because we've done a lesson previously where we explained all of these quadratic inequalities in detail. So everything that I'm saying, it's not new to them, so it might be new to you. So it's very, very much important that at all times you catch up before you join our lesson. So guys, let's now move to our next question, which is 1.1.4. This is what we are given. So we're given 2 square root of x plus 6 plus 2. It's equated to x. So I'm just going to quickly write it down. So this is 1.1.4, which is 2 square root of x plus 6 plus 2. Let me just do that so that it's clear. Plus 2. The whole of this is equated to x. So guys, I hope I've copied it correctly. Let me just quickly confirm. You guys can also check if I've copied it correctly. So 2 square root of that. Yeah, no, guys, it seems like this is copied correctly. Remember, guys, for every question that I write down, please do make sure that everything is copied correctly. Otherwise, we end up solving something which is not, something which is not copied correctly. Guys, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so let me try. Wait, let me see. I know what I've done. There's someone who wanted me to allow them to gain access to this lesson. So I went out to allow them to join this lesson. So now I think we can continue. So guys, are you able to see now?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay. So when you're given this type of equation, ask yourself the same question: is this an equation or an expression? It seems to be an equation. So obviously, since it's an equation, it means you have to solve. What are you solving? You solve for the unknown. What is the unknown? The unknown is represented by any letter from A up to Z. In this case, they chose to use x as the unknown. So that means in the end, we have to say x is equals to something. So guys, I want to teach you this thing. I think it falls under that chapter of SATs. So square root of 4, this is the same as 4 to the exponent 1 over 2. Square root of 8, let me say 3 square root of 8. This is the same as 8 to the exponent 1 over 3. 5 square root of 9. This is the same as 9 to the exponent 1 over 4. Therefore, it means when you see a square root, just know there's a 2 over there, which is not necessary to write. Where does that 1 come from? Ladies and gentlemen, 4 to the power 1, it's 4. Guys, 8 to the exponent 1, it's 8. Ladies and gentlemen, 9 to the exponent 1 is 9. So generally, we can say when you have square root of a y x to the exponent x, because there is that 2 over there which is not necessary to write. That means this is y. At the bottom is x, is the exponent of whatever that is inside the brackets. Then you divide it by 2. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've got 3, let me actually say if you've got 8 square root of x to the exponent 2. So this is the same as x to the exponent 2 over 8. Guys, if you've got, let's say 17 square root of, let's say b to the exponent a. This is the same as b to the exponent a over 17. Similarly, if you've got x square root of b to the exponent y, this is the same as b to the exponent y over x. Ladies and gentlemen, do you understand everything that I've explained so far? I want to make sure that everyone understands so that I can use all of this to explain what's going on over there. Guys, do we all understand that part, or is there someone who's got a question? Puti? Yeah, Kwan.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then now let me explain something of which I expect it to also make sense. Remember, guys, that means the whole of this, or just that part, because I'm only interested in that part with a square root. It means we've got 2 square root of x plus 6 plus 2 is equals to x. Based on what I've explained, do you agree with me if I do that, ladies and gentlemen? Does it make sense what I've done? And do you agree based on the information that I've explained?
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, because inside the brackets, it's not just one term, it's 2 terms, then it's more like square root of a plus b, which is the same as square root of a, which is the same as 2 square root of, in brackets, is a plus 2. So the exponent is there, which is the same as a plus b close to the exponent 1 over 2. Guys, just this part, does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Therefore, it means we've got 2 square root of into x plus 6 close, there's that exponent over there, plus 2, it's equals to x, which means we've got 2 into x plus 6 close to the exponent 1 over 2 plus 2, which is equals to x. Do you guys agree with me on that step?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we need to remove that exponent, or otherwise on that step we need to remove that square root, or otherwise on that step we need to remove the square root, or otherwise on that original equation the first thing that we are concerned about is removing the square root. So obviously if you want to remove the square root, remember guys, the whole of this, it was just to explain step by step in terms of why do you have to square when you remove the square root. So that means if you are in exam, you are not going to show all of this. Straight away from there, you want to remain with that square root of x plus 6 on the left side and move everything on the right side of the equal sign. So it's more like you just want to remain with one term on this side so that you can remove the square root, which forces you to move everything to the other side. So remember guys, if it was just square root of x plus 6, that means there's that one there which is not necessary to write. So it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 1,000, could be 10, could be 17, could be any number. So when you remove the square root, the reason why you say 2 into the reason why you say 2 into x plus 6 close let me just close and open brackets and say x minus 2 close squared. I want to explain that step in detail. Remember guys, when you remove a square root, you introduce a squared. So on your calculations, you might just show this step, but I want to explain in detail or step by step where or how that step comes about. So remember, you're going to say into, then it's 2x plus 6, you close, you introduce a squared. You do the same on the other side. What you do on the left, you do on the right, you introduce a squared. Why introducing a squared? This is what I want to show you guys. So it's actually that step over there. Remember, this is where you introduce a squared. You are forced to also do the same on the other side. So let's say that was already moved to the other side, which means it's equals to there. Then you've got x minus that 2. And obviously, you do the same. So the reason why we multiply or we square by 2 is because we want that to cancel with that 2, which is from there, which was not necessary to write. So the moment you cancel that, what matters the most is for you to be aware that that squared, it also multiplies that 1 over there. Remember that 2 is 2 to the exponent 1. So that is the reason why on your next step after introducing a squared on both sides, is this 2 multiplying that, which makes it 4. Obviously, you know 2 squared or 2 to the exponent 1 times 2 is the same as 2 squared, which is equals to 4, which is that 4. Name. So obviously, you remain with that in brackets because you removed the square root. So the reason why you put it in brackets is because it's not just one term, but it's x plus something. Then this is equals to, obviously, you've got 2 of those, which is x minus 2x minus 2. So guys, does it now make sense? So is there someone who's got a question?
I understand, sir.
No question?
No question there. It does make sense.
Okay, so if it makes sense, I'm just going to remove all of this and write that step so that we've got enough space. Because this question is a bit lengthy, but let me just remove everything just so that I show you the necessary steps. So remember, guys, quickly I'm going to do it. So obviously we've got 2 square root of x plus 6. This is equated to x minus 2. You want to remain with this on the left side. So you introduce a squared to remove that square root, which is equals to x minus 2 squared. So obviously this is that times that is 4 into x plus 6 squared is equals to 2 of this x minus 2. So now you remove the brackets. Okay, so guys, there's someone who hasn't muted their mic. I'm not really sure who's that. Okay, seems like the mic is muted. So guys, let's continue. So obviously, after you've removed the square root, you now have the brackets that you need to sort out. So it's that times that times that. So you've got 4x plus that times that is 4 times 6 is equals to 24, equals to that times that it's x squared, that times that it's minus 2x, that times that it's minus 2x, that times that is plus 4. Let's now work out the like terms. So on this side, we don't have the like terms. On this side, we've got x squared minus 4x from those two plus 4. Let's now move everything to the other side of the equal sign. So let's follow that standard form. That means we've got x squared. Obviously there it's positive 4x. Let's move this one closer to that. It changes the sign, it becomes positive 4x. We also had the c value, which was 24. Let's move this side, that one to the other side. Then is this. Why did we have to move everything to the other side? Is because we want to equate the whole of that to 0 so that it's in the standard form. So let's work out the like terms. Obviously, you've got negative x squared. You don't have any other value which is in squared. Then both of these is positive 8x. Let's see, there we've got obviously positive 20. This is equals to 0. I'm going to choose one. Lebohang, is this equation in the standard form? Lerato, is this in the standard form?
No, sir. It is,
Why?
but because of the negative sign in the first term, it's not.
So that means we have to make it in the standard form, ne?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously we need to change all the signs. So that becomes minus 8 x. Let's see what else we've got. Minus 20 there, then it's equals to negative 0, which is 0. So guys, this is where we can now try to find the factors. So let's see, what do we have? We've got x, we've got x. Which two values, when multiplied together, gives us the value of 20, and again, when worked out together, they give us that 8. What are those numbers, ladies and gentlemen? Let me see. 10 times 2. Yeah, 10 times 2. 10 times 2 gives us 20. And these two values, they can also give us the middle term, which is 8. So obviously, because our C value is negative, then it means the bigger number between these two takes the sign of the middle term. Because we've got a negative value, we are forced to have a positive value over there, or a positive positive factor there. So guys, so far, are we still on the same page, or is there someone who wants to ask a question? Remember guys, if I ask a question of are we still on the same page? Whoever who says yes, they've answered for themselves. So if we are not on the same page, remember to ask a question before I proceed. So guys, are we all on the same page up to this point?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously that means the whole of this can be equated to 0, whereby x will be equals to -2, or x is equals to +10. So guys, in this case, this is where we need to test that between these two values, which one is the actual value of x. So otherwise, to check if both of these are the values, the correct values of x. How do we do it? So ladies and gentlemen, let's substitute there on the original equation with -2. So if the x value is -2 there, we punch the whole of that, we should expect -2 if we substitute -2 over there. If we substitute with 10 over there, because we are saying the x value is 10, then it means we have to get 10 as our answer. So guys, can someone try that negative value there, substitute it there, punch the whole of that, punch its equals to, and tell me if you get -2 or if you get a different number. Guys, I'm done with the calculation. I'm not sure if there's someone who's still doing the calculation. Guys, are you doing that calculation? Dimpo, o hona mo lining?
Yes.
O idea that calculation? O understand that so far?
Yeah, so if I can understand, it's just that calculator I go following an so I let it out or something.
Oh, okay. So anyone who's got a calculator, otherwise, if you don't have a calculator, let me quickly show you what I meant. So guys, you say 2 square root of, you substitute a -2 over there, plus 6 plus 2. You have to get an answer which is -2. Why? Because you're saying the x value is -2. And again, perform the same calculation but using the other x value, which is 10 plus 6 plus 2. If you get 10, then it means the 10x value is correct. Remember, if the whole of this was not equated to x, but let's say it was equated to 4, you were going to do the same and expect to get 4 or whatever value that is on that side. So don't say every time when you substitute by the x value, you should get that same x value. In this case, it's because they equated the whole of that to x. So guys, when I punch with using -2 there, I'm getting 6. I'm not sure if you're also getting 6. But with this one, I'm also getting 10. What does it mean? It means you cross or you cross that negative. So you're saying x, it's not equals to -2, but x, it's equals to 10. So this is how you answer this question. That's why on some answers or some memos, you'll see that sign where they say x is not equals to a number. So this sign, it means not equals to. Okay, guys, does it make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
100%. So now let's move to the next question. I'm just going to quickly remove all of that. So we've got our question 1.2 over there, which is solved simultaneously for x and y. So guys, solving for x and y is more like just doing a lengthy calculation where you firstly solve for either x and secondly solve for the other unknown. So I'm just going to copy the whole of that, just like with other question. So you just need to make sure that what I'm copying, it's 100% correct. So we've got, or we are given x, 4x plus y is equal to 2. We're also given 4x plus y squared is equals to 8. And they say solve simultaneously for x and y. So guys, the first two given equations, you can refer to them as equation number 1. The second one, you can take it as equation number 2, which means you need to derive equation number 3. So when you derive equation number 3, you need to check between these two, which one is less complicated, or which one can easily be made the variable, the subject of the formula. For example, you can use equation 1 to make y the subject of the formula because y is just one y there. So which means you are going to have y is equals to whatever that you had on that side, you transpose, it becomes negative 4x. This is then your equation number 3. Imagine if you had to make x the subject of the formula. So that means you're going to have 4x is equals to 2 minus y. X is equals to, then you're going to have maybe something like that. Or otherwise, you're going to just divide everything by 4, which is, let's say, almost the same as 2 minus y divided by 4. So imagine this being your term number 3, and you have to substitute this on term number 2 there. Can you see how complicated it was going to be? So that's why, guys, I'm saying you need to be strategic in terms of checking which variable to make the subject of the formula. So that it doesn't mean always you must make x the subject of the formula. It doesn't mean always you must make y the subject of the formula. And remember, guys, it can be a there, b there. It can be a there, b there. So it doesn't necessarily mean that under simultaneous equations you only solve for the value of x and y. It can be any letter, but normally they use letters which follow that order of alphabet. So for example, they can say they can use letter A, B, they can use letter C, D. It's unlikely for them to use, for example, letter A, K. I hope you understand that part. So guys, does it make sense in terms of how do you decide when making equation number 3? Does it make sense, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see. Obviously, now that we've got equation number 3, it means we're going to substitute equation number 3 into equation number 2, because we made equation 3 from equation number 1. So that's why we substituted to equation number 2. So we are simply saying where we see y on equation number 2, we substitute the whole of that. So that means we're going to have 4x plus, obviously there it's y squared, then it means we've got 2 minus 4 x, and the whole of that, it's equated to 8. Let's work out that part. So that means we've got 4x plus into 2 minus 4x into 2 minus 4x is equals to 8. So be careful, ladies and gentlemen. You've got x squared plus, in this case, is number times number, which is 4. Number times that, it's minus 8x, and that times that, it's minus 8x. That times that, it's positive. I think it's x16. Remember, it's x squared. Same time, you can just transpose that and say minus 8 and equate everything to 0. Mr. D, why do I equate everything to 0? It's because I notice we've got a power there, we've got a quadratic, we've got something x to the power 2, which means the whole of this, it's a quadratic equation. So that's why I don't want to waste time. Same time, I'm moving everything to the left and equate it to 0. So I'm already one step into making the whole of this to be in the standard form. So now it's just a matter of working the like terms and writing everything in that order of a x squared plus bx plus c. So now I can straight away start with that 16 and say I've got 16x squared over there. I've got let's see, I've got that, I've got this, I've got this. So I can just punch the whole of that on a calculator and say it's 4x minus 8x minus 8x, then it's equals to minus 12x. And again, I've got 4 and a minus 8 over there, which is still the same as minus 4. The whole of this is equals to it's equals to 0. So now I can simplify this by dividing by a common factor. I think I can divide it by 4, everything by 4. So a common factor is a number that you can divide all of these terms. So 4 is the highest number that we can. Remember, you can still divide by 1, you can still divide by 2, you cannot divide by 3, you can divide by 4, and 4 is the highest number where when you divide 16 by 4, what is it? Is it 4? I think it's 4. Okay, so it's 4x squared. That is obviously minus 3x minus 1. It's equals to 0. So obviously, now that it's in the standard, why am I saying it's in the standard? It's because of the positive A value. I know the A, B, and C value. And again, the whole of this, it's equated to 0. Then I'm confident it's in the standard form. What's the next step? Obviously, to find the factors. Okay, so now, ladies and gentlemen, can you see? It might be a bit tricky to find those factors, but obviously, we are going to have 4x, somewhere we might have x, and we'll still need to be having, we'll still need to have 1 and 1. And remember, Dimpo, I've just explained previously that between these two values, the bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. But in this case, we don't have a bigger number, isn't it? So that means between this one and that one, the other one has to be a negative. So I think when you say that multiplied by that, you're going to have 4, of which if it's negative 4, when you multiply that by that, it becomes a positive 4, which means, positive x, which means it will result in negative 3x when you work it out. So what I mean is that there I can have a positive 1. So let me quickly test it. This times that is 4x squared. This times that is minus 4x. This times that is positive x. This times that it's minus 1, which is equals to 0. So I've got 4x. The whole of this, it gives me negative 3x minus 1 is equals to 0. So can you see, guys, from the few lessons that we had, I'm now able to factorize this using my head. So ladies and gentlemen, in case if this was a bit complicated for you, then this is where you can use this formula. This is where you can use this formula. In that way, you are going to get the correct X values, which will enable you to get some more additional marks. Because remember, this is not the end of that problem. So ladies and gentlemen, obviously we know this is equated to 0. We've got 4x, let's say, okay, let me just write it and say plus 1 is equals to 0, or x minus 1 is equals to 0. So obviously x is equals to, move it, it becomes minus 1. You divide by that 4 over there, so that you only remain with the x value. On this side, obviously x is equals to 1. So ladies and gentlemen, you've got the two x values of that equation, which means you must have the two y values of that problem. So now this is where you can use the fixed x value. You substitute on equation number 3. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So that means you're going to say y, it's equals to 2 minus 4 into the x value, it's minus quarter, ladies and gentlemen, or y, it's equals to 2 minus 4 into 1. I already know that obviously this is going to be minus 2. This one, what is it going to be? Is it going to be 3? Because that times that, they cancel. It's a positive plus 1, I think it's 3. So guys, let's quickly confirm if I'm correct on that one. Into, then it's minus 1 over 4. This is 3. So guys, that means where x value is minus 1 over 2, the y value is 3, or the corresponding y value is 3. So you just used those two. So here you can say where x is 1, we substituted there and we found the y value to be 2. Ladies and gentlemen, does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so guys, how do we prove if those x values are correct? That means you can substitute, you substitute on the original equations to test if those values are correct. So if we say 4 into, we use the x value plus the corresponding y value, we must get 2. If we use what else, 4 into the x value plus the corresponding y value squared, we have to get 8. So what I mean is that when you substitute negative 1 over 4 over there, 1 over 4, and substitute y, which is 3 over there, you must get 2. If you don't get 2, then it means something is wrong. And again, you use the same values there to test that, to test with that second equation. Then you must get 8. If you don't get 8, then it means something is wrong. You do the same using this value. Substitute 1 there, negative 2 there. You substitute 1 there, negative 2 there. Then expect to get 2 when you punch that. Expect to get 8 when you punch that. If you do not get those, ladies and gentlemen, it means somewhere you made a mistake. So this is where it gets frustrating. Imagine if you're in an exam, you're left with 5 minutes and you don't get those answers. Then it becomes a bit tricky to detect exactly where you made a mistake. So that's why it's very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times you practice this type of questions and you test if your answers are wrong or correct. But one thing for sure, if you follow the correct mathematical procedure, then it means if you don't get those values, you might have punched something incorrectly. So guys, the other tip that I can give you is that when you're dealing with simultaneous equations, normally when you write this thing in the standard form, you must find the factors. For example, if you do the whole of that, and you get to this point where you've written that in the standard form. And when you try to factorize using your head, you don't get the factors. When you use a quadratic formula, you get decimals. Then already it serves as a hint that somewhere, somehow, somewhere, you made a mistake. Okay, so before you even continue, try to check. Most likely to make your first mistake when you derive equation number 3, because in most cases you might forget to change the sign. Okay, most important, ladies and gentlemen, on your next step, make sure that you do everything correctly, especially that part over there where you need to work out the like terms. You're most likely to make mistakes over there. Remember, guys, this part, you might find that this is not given any mark, but a mark is given to that simplified form of an equation. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very much important that at all times you make sure that you follow mathematical procedure. Otherwise, if you don't, then you're most likely to lose some marks. So, guys, can we now discuss the next question? Because I think I've explained this question fully. Not sure if there's someone who's got a question. If you do, this is your opportunity to ask a question before I remove everything on the screen. So, guys, are we all on the same page?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm going to expect you guys to work out this one. So it serves as part of your homework, ladies and gentlemen. I won't work it out. I'll just give you an opportunity to work it out. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as you are done working it out, you can just send an inbox on Telegram, not on WhatsApp, on Telegram. So it doesn't matter whether you do it correctly or wrong. If you get it wrong or do it incorrectly, I just want to see your level of thinking. I just want to see the types of mistakes that you're most likely to make. And again, it's going to help me when, remember, not everyone in this group will remain in this group. So this is more like free lessons, although we've got some learners who are paying for this lesson. That's why sometimes just see us, just like we did with Dimpo sometime during the day. We just had a lesson where I didn't announce. So I used to have my private lessons in this channel. That was before I introduced everyone to this channel. So for paid learners, you just see us being busy with our learners. You can join, but you won't be able to participate in asking the questions and everything. So if I give you a homework and you work it out and you do it incorrectly and you send it in my inbox on Telegram, when I screen this group, or when I start removing participants who are not active, then I'm firstly going to check if you were giving attention to these homeworks, and again, if you were active. So that's the criteria that I'm going to be using to screen and remove some participants or members in this group. So remember, guys, it's very much important that at all times when given a homework, regardless of whether it's correct or wrong, it's going to be benefit to my lessons, because when you do it incorrectly, I'm able to then understand where you make mistake. So never be ashamed of making a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why I was good in mathematics and other subjects it was because I made more mistakes than everyone else, and I invested much of my time in making mistakes so that I don't repeat the same mistakes in exams. So that's why I'm saying for this type of lessons, I'm not preparing you for your classworks, homeworks, assignments, or projects. I'm preparing you for final exams. So that's why at all times I use exam papers. So guys, this is what you need to work out. So I'm going to guide you on how to approach this type of equations. So ladies and gentlemen, you can see this is the last question of solve for x. Mr. D, thanks for that suggestion or recommendation to say we should also look at last questions of solve for x, because they are unique. They are never the same. You can never predict how the question might look like. So guys, at all times when you do solve for x, we'll also invest much of our time into looking at the last question of solve for x, because that's where they test your mathematical understanding. To what extent do you understand mathematics? So ladies and gentlemen, if it is given that 2 to the exponent x multiplied by 3 to the exponent y is equals to 24 to the exponent 6, determine the numerical value of x minus y. Ladies and gentlemen, at all times, especially in physical sciences, I think on our next lesson we should look at physical sciences, even if we don't solve the question, but just doing some revision, so that I'm able to have an idea of whether you guys fully understand physical sciences or not before we start solving the question. So guys, I always say it's very, very much important that you are able to identify the cream of the question. What is the cream of the question in this case? The cream of the question is that word or those words when removed from doesn't make sense. So guys, they're saying if it is given that, determine the numerical value of x minus y. So that means this to me seems to be the cream of the question. Why am I saying this? Is because this is an instruction which guides you in terms of how your final answer should look like. What is the numerical value? Ladies and gentlemen, a numerical value, it's a value which is in the form of a number. So that means in the end, you must say x minus y is equals to a number which could be -1, could be 0, could be 7, could be million, could be -30, it could be whatever number, as long as it's a numerical value. Do not calculate the x value and find the x value to be, let's say, 8, and find the y value to be 4 and leave it there. Guys, you won't score maximum marks. What the question wants you to calculate or determine is the numerical value of x minus y, which means if you get your x value being 8 and your y value being 4, say 8 minus 4 and tell what is the numerical value of x minus y, which is 8 minus 4, which is 4. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you fully understand what is the cream of the question. So guys, additional hints. Let me just remove all of this and explain. So guys, do you now understand what the question wants you to calculate? And also, are you able to distinguish or find the cream of the question? Guys, are you still in the lesson? Is this lesson still live, or was there a disconnection?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so remember, they are saying if it is given that this, determine the numerical value of x minus y. So I think you might need to work out this such that, remember, you've got 2 to the exponent x multiplied by 3 to the exponent x. Work out this thing such that is the same as 2 multiplied by 3 to the exponent something. So what is it that when you say 2 to the exponent whatever multiplied by 3 to the exponent whatever is the same as that, or is the same as 24 to the exponent 6? That's what I think you can firstly do. In that way, I think you'll be able to say 2 to the exponent x it's equals to 2 to the exponent that whatever, or 3 to the exponent y, it's equals to 3 to the exponent that whatever. So obviously, you know, when the bases are the same, you can equate the exponents. When the bases are the same, you can equate the exponents. As an example, ladies and gentlemen, as an example, let's say there the x value is 7. As an example, ladies and gentlemen, let's say there the y value is 2. That means you say 7 minus 2, then you've got 5 as the numerical value of x minus y. Guys, this is your homework, and I hope you will. Remember, it's up to you, ladies and gentlemen, to do this homework, but you obviously know what are the advantages of you taking the homework seriously. There's no deadline. If you're not able to do it today, it's fine, but just try to make sure that you give yourself some time to work it out. Then from there, ladies and gentlemen, you know, going forward, it's going to help the both of us to determine whether you remain or otherwise you temporarily stay out of the group. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think before I, close this lesson, can someone, make use of this opportunity to ask any question if there's any?
Sir, I have a question.
Okay.
So on 1.3, usually in class, the time resolver, more the graphic representative, like how that
Omo question, which question 1.3?
1.1.3.
As ke kgone go kwa sharp, so try which our 1.3.
1.1.3.
Oh, 1.1.3. Okay, yeah. What about 1.1.3?
Yes, so usually in class, how to that graphic part, how like that circle on the graphic part, read the arrow. So I get if maybe the answer because Funya Latima and the time Sekuta no solely 1.1.4. So is it necessary to read the arrow or not?
Okay. Guys, is there someone who still remembers what was our critical values? I think, do you guys still remember what was the critical values there? I think there was 4. I remember 4. Was it -2 there?
Minus 2 and 4.
Okay.
-2 and 4.
Okay. All right. No, it's fine. So, Kimangwa, which is in that question, what's your name?
Promise.
Okay. So, Promise. Obviously, because we had it was x minus 1 closed squared greater than 9. So redile the circle, if I remember, the circle, we didn't shade these circles because it's just greater than. So now we had positive values on this side, we had positive values on that side, we had negative values in between. So it is necessary to have these arrows. I think, guys, we can also confirm, did we have those arrows when I did this question?
Is
Okay, so Promise, it is necessary that you have these arrows. Remember, this line, it's that x-axis. You remember the x-axis on the Cartesian plane. So this is the x, axis on the Cartesian. Obviously, you know this is the y-axis. So if this is the origin, that's why we've got -1, -2, which is that critical value over there. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, which is that 4 value over there. So now we are saying on this x-axis, starting from -2, going in that direction. So this arrow, it simply means up to infinity, which means from that -2 going up to infinity, up to -million, up to -billion, up to -billion, billion, billion, up to negative. I hope you fully understand that part, ladies and gentlemen. From 4 up to infinity, ladies and gentlemen, up to billion, 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 billion. If there's zillion, up to zillion, zillion, zillion. When you substitute whatever value on that equation which was on the standard form, you are going to always find a positive value. Doesn't matter if it's positive 10, positive 1,000, positive whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, from -2 in that direction, when you punch the value on that quadratic inequality which is in the standard form, you're always going to get a positive value. But for the values in between, you can still have -1 there. Obviously, there's 0, 1, 2, 3. Even if it's that value somewhere there, which is -1, is it -1,5? Even if it's that value there, which is 1,5, that value there, which is 2,5, or even 2,7, as long as it's a number, or maybe somewhere a value there which is 3,9. As long as you punch this value, you're going to get a negative value. But when you punch 4, you're most likely to get 0. When you punch -2, you're most likely to get 0. Remember, not when substituting that value there, but on the equation which is in the standard quadratic inequality. So only when you punch any number in that direction, that's when you get a positive value, a positive value. So I remember that equation in the standard form, it was whatever, it was greater than 0. So that means a value which is greater than 0, it's a positive value. If it was let's say, for example, it was whatever, and it was less than 0, that means a number which is less than 0, it's a negative value. So this is where we were going to have a circle, not shaded. Then you just join the lines to say this is that type where you say x is between -2 and 4. So that means between -2 and 4, that's where you find the values which are less than 0, which are less than 0, which are between -2 and 4. So promise, I can showing even though I had to provide some additional information. So for everyone, did that make sense?
Yes, sir, it did make sense.
Yes, sir.
So guys, are we all on the same page so far? Because we're about to wrap up this lesson.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, kgopela ho botsisa like
Mhm.
o botlhokwa gore o ngwale ka o left o ngwale gore negative infinity then ka o right o ngwale positive like
Oh, Ramo number line.
yeah.
Sometimes ho diallo tša mohuta o fa batho ba ba makelang ko exam attention ya goreng ba kgone go bona gore o understand ntho o e diang. So for now, I used to show every possible additional information gore le ba maka, even though a mistake somewhere, they pay full attention because you really understand what you're doing. So just imagine if no ngwala we itlhatlola. So le ba maka for upcoming questions, if they are running out of time, le bona ba tlono ba no marker as quick as possible. So but in answering your question, you might find that for showing that positive and negative, it's not allocated a mark. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if I've answered. Yeah, you might find that it's not allocated a mark, but you've got an understanding. So whoever markang le phepela hao, they will also pay full attention.
Eh. Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so when are we using the interval notation? Like why and how do we use it in this type of question?
What is it? Why are we using what's the question?
The interval notation.
The interval.
Yes, sir.
The interval, how? Let me do this. Are you saying those type of questions where you say x is between, let's say, A and B? Is this your question?
No, sir.
Mm.
The interval, sir, where you write a value, then you put a comma and then write an infinity sign.
Oh, no, I understand. So that means that is another type of representing this as final answer, of which I can prepare a complete lesson where I teach you all the types of, all the possible types of representing that as your final answer. So remember, you can still use a graph. You can still use a graph which could be in that way instead of using those zeros and those unshaded circle that. So that means I might need to prepare a complete lesson where I teach you different ways in which you can represent your final answer. Ne?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so guys, I'm actually running out of battery, but I think you've enjoyed this lesson as much as I did. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is that time where I need to sign out and say, my name is Desmond, and I'm out.